All right, good morning. Getting back to this project, having left it sit aside for probably much too long. Filming at the beginning of the holiday season is a bit of a trick when you have a studio that is open to the public like a retail space. So, I finally caught up with whatever I needed to do for that, and I'm back to this project. So, when last we worked on it, I had a stack of papers, and I was getting ready to prep those. So I'll show you what I've chosen to do. I went ahead and cut some of the pattern paper down to about the size, and I left some of the shape of that in. I didn't worry about cutting it straight because I wanted to keep some of the graphic of that. So this is one of those rare patterns that's printed on something other than tan brownish tissue paper. So I wanted to use that. And I did a couple sheets of it. This one now has a little bit of a grease mark. I'd like to think that came in the pattern as it was. Might not have. Can anybody say buttered toast? I have a bad feeling about that. Well, I'll either not use that piece or, I don't know if you can see that grease spot. Anyway, I'll either not use the piece or I will put something over it. We'll see. I have a couple sheets of book page, and I'm going to go ahead and do a quick demo on putting those together. So I'll set that aside. I found the paper I was looking for, as you remember, the one that's sort of cruise themed. So I've got that. And I folded them to fit the book. In this case, folding it, and I could have cut it off here because I didn't want to just randomly cut this. A lot of pieces I'll cut wherever, and on the back, that's how that side of the paper just ended. But I wanted the Canard Cruise Line bit to be on there. Just the graphics I wanted to have show the most were there. And so rather than just cut this flap off, I just folded it so that when you open the book, then you can open that out. Or there's the option of gluing here and here, and then you have a side pocket. So you can fold your papers different ways besides just in the middle. And in fact, on this one, which was that full width book page that came out of the art book, I folded the bottom up to make it the right height, and then that gives me pockets in which to put things. And this is kind of nice because you have the combination of book page and writing space. So that'll be kind of nice. A piece of sheet music. And some of the things I simply, rather than cutting precisely, excuse me, I have hiccups now. Rather than cutting precisely, I just ripped against the ruler edge. We shall see if coffee helps the hiccup situation. A little warm liquid on the throat. Okay, so there's that. I've got this piece out of that art book, and again here is a different sort of fold rather than folding it in the middle, which would have cut this painting off in an awkward spot. I did fold somewhat into the painting, but I didn't worry about this back page being narrower. That's fine. Junk journals, you just go with what you've got. Some of my junk journals, this one is my personal one that I'm playing with right now. You'll see my pages stick way out past the edge, and they run the gamut from full height to very random height. This is tall, those are shorter. There's some pages in here that are just that. It is important when you're binding to line those up so that, because we're doing a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, simplest binding, it's the one pretty much everybody does for junk journals. There are others you can do, but it's the simplest. If you're using short pages, and we'll talk about this again, but you want to make sure that you get through each piece with at least 2 of the 3 stitches, just so that you don't have pieces that flop around too easily. Here's this map page, and it is definitely full height, and maybe a bit. I may have to shorten that up a bit. And I'm not sure I'm using it. I didn't end up using it in the other. And then just some 8.5 by 11 paper, simply folded. Here is this piece from the pattern instructions. Older instructions, they didn't print it so much on the great big, you fold it out and you have the full sheet of instructions. They did print a little bit more booklet style, which is lovely, because then they're just perfect for this. They can just go in as they are. An envelope. Oh, that's my keeping track of what project's what. So I've got this envelope, and we'll stick that in at some point. The other pattern, which I am going to do some cutting. I'll show you in just a minute what I did on another one. This is another place where I wasn't sure if I was going to use it, because I thought I was going to have to fold it this way, and I don't like my book pages sideways. I was able to take some off the top and bottom without losing the graphics, and then just, again, fold it narrow. And this may be where these 2 end up living. Just another piece. This is for that. This was one of those larger sheets of cardstock, and the style of the paper overall was not quite the style of this journal, but folded, it's fine. I'm not super crazy about the cherubs, the glittered cherubs in here. I don't mind the love. So what I may do is actually cut this at the center line, and only that side will have the pocket. We'll see when I get that far. I did fold that piece of scrapbooking paper that was maybe on point, maybe not quite the right thing for the theme. I have some extra of that pattern paper. I ironed it out flat in order to cut it, and so when I refolded it, I folded it strategically to be where the fold and straight lines and things would coincide for cutting up for more journal pages. But I'm going to set that aside. I do have the cutting and sewing directions for the second pattern sitting here, and they are more as we expect to see, where it's the big full sheet. Don't know if I'll use them in here, probably. But it always works out, you know, here's where the great graphic is. That ends up being to the back, which is fine. I mean, you look at both sides of pages anyway. Don't know why it bothers me, but I always want this to be done where this side is cut. No. That's some coffee dyed paper, which I'm probably not using, and then a handful of other things I pulled out that I'm probably not going to use, but I'm just keeping them to the side for now. Here are the offcuts, and the offcuts could be used as well. Another coffee dye I'm not going to use. Offcut from that other bit. I may bind these in, I may use them later, so I'm keeping them around until I'm done with the project, in case I want offcuts that coordinate. So I'll put those to the side. So we've got that. We're going to figure out the order of these pages, make sure things are cut to size. We'll get this piece ready to go in to be bound. We'll do that, and then we'll get started on, and possibly finish, doing some ribbons and trims along the edges of the pages. There are things that you could do after the fact. The first journal that I did, the first junk journal I did, I bound the journal first and stitched the edges onto the pages after the fact. It isn't impossible. It's just not the easiest way to do it. So if you discover after the fact that you want to add more trims on, you can stitch things to the edge of your pages after you've made the journal. It's just where you can plan ahead, it's good to do so. I don't know if on my very first journal I could have planned ahead. I just needed to get started and go with it. So let's get started on this and get going with it. To combine two pages together, if it matters to you, watch your page numbers. If it doesn't matter, or you've pulled them from different parts of a book, then no worries. There's a few things you can do. You can overlap them and glue between. You can use double stick tape in there, but you're going to have to stitch through this at some point. I find that double stick tape can be a stinker to stitch through, so I don't like to do that. But you can glue that, or if you don't want to lose the width, and you're going to have a very narrow area in here in which to fold and get your stitching through. If you don't want to lose so much width, and these are not cut quite as precisely as I would prefer. Let's see if I can clean that up any with my wonky old paper cutter that doesn't cut particularly straight anyway. But we'll see. Go real gentle through here. If I don't push down too much. Okay, it's not going to be perfect, but that cleaned it up somewhat. That's a little straighter. I'll just X-Acto knifed out of the book. Okay, that's better. So this way, so that I keep some of the width and I keep the white space to either side. Excuse me. Don't have water ready. My water glass is right there, but take nothing in it. Darn it. You can use a strip of paper. I'm going to go ahead and fold this first. And I picked this, even though it's not a paper I had used elsewhere in the journal, I picked it for the houndstooth check pattern on it. And not a perfectly straight fold. Could have been better. Could have been worse. We'll go with it. And I'm just going to, let's see. Right, I'll go ahead and add the glue. I'll trim that afterwards. Just going to put some glue all the way down this. Again, this is another place you can use your double-sided sticky. Again, not my favorite product, so I'm not using that. This under there so I can spread off the edges. Get glue spreader. One reason I had to wait so long to film this was I kept having extremely noisy early mornings, and this morning doesn't seem to be any exception. Normally I film on the weekends without having to go ridiculously early in the morning and not have commercial truck sounds, but this weekend it was snowy, so we had all the snow removal sounds. We had the snow shovelers, and then as soon as the guys that do mine finished, they came back and salted the sidewalk. And then a little later, they came back and knocked the snow off of my awning. There we go. We have canvas awnings on our historical buildings here in town, and my building isn't that historical, but it has an awning too. So they knocked the snow off the awning, and then they had to shovel again, and then by that time the neighbors were shoveling, and then the landlord came in to work on the rental space next door to me, remodeling that. And yeah, noisy. This morning, normally it's super quiet around 5 in the morning, but no, we've got all the logging trucks that got delayed by the snow yesterday are apparently taking advantage of the break in the weather and rumbling through town this morning. And I'm half a block off of Main Street, so there we go. Excuse the noise. Okay, that's a little bit loose there. Now I did use a scrapbook weight paper just because I like the look of it, and I'm thinking maybe it could have been good to have used more of the same weight as the book pages, because there's some kind of tension going on between the heavier paper and the lighter one, where it almost feels like it makes the paper vulnerable at that joining point. So, something to think about the next time I do this. For the most part though, for what it is, it's fine. The other thing about cardstock weight is that it does sometimes kind of break. Oh no. We can get, you really don't see it on camera. There is a little bit of breaking happening, especially like right there where the fold is. Not maybe perfectly ideal, but again, we're not factory producing a pristine book. We are making a junk journal. So we're going to let the random things be random. Okay, so that is how to get a 2-page spread, get your type upright, and create that. I want to cut these out and get them glued down to a page, and then I think we'll be ready to put our pages in order and add some trims. And judging by how noisy it's already getting, I think I'll be filming adding trims tomorrow in the wee hours. I actually like very early mornings, so I'm not really complaining. Now I am cutting out carefully. I could just whack down this and not worry so much, but once in a while I want these other bits. This probably not so much, since some of the words are covered up, but I'm just kind of mindful to cut neatly where I'm cutting apart graphic elements so that I retain the option to use the other bits. And something that helps if you have older eyes, this probably goes without saying, but if you have older eyes and you do wear cheaters, go to a higher resolution cheater while you're doing your fussy cuts, and man oh man, what a difference it makes. Okay, I'm liking that. We'll see what page it's going to go on. I may need to take an X-Acto and cut this bit out of the center here. Oh, with those close-up glasses on, I can no longer just glance over at my screen and see what the heck's going on. As long as I keep my hands here, I'm in frame. Now I have this where that is in danger of coming apart, and I do want to save her. Even though she's missing a foot, I can tuck that in. And even this gal up here I'm going to save. But I'm going to go ahead and cut this off of this and stabilize it. I'm not going to worry about cutting her out right now. I think I'll use her much like I did on the other book, where I just stick this image on a page somewhere. But to keep that from coming apart, I'm going to make sure that it's to the right side. I'm going to turn this over. To the right side, meaning that the way that it's torn, I'm getting the white bit back behind. And I've got some spare of the same paper that I trimmed off. Okay. Just get this gluey. Look at that, I didn't pull it off with my teeth. How civilized of me. And yes, I do have a glue rag off to the side. I didn't make a big deal about having that out and on screen, but it is there. Okay. Down. I'm going to flip that over. There's little bits that are coming up. Oh, there's my snow shovel guys back. So much for getting this done before folks came out and about. All right. There's that. Okay, I'm just going to let that dry, and then I can cut these two apart, fussy cut them out, and use them on some other pages. We'll set them aside for a while. Okay, let's get this puppy in some sort of order. And I may not end up using all of these pages. We'll see what seems to go and looks good. Let's see, what do I want up front? I kind of want this coming in close to the beginning, but I also like the idea of acknowledging that it is a, pattern piece. So I kind of like this coming in next. I don't think I need to do both in a row. It's not like anybody needs to follow these directions. So, do I open with that? Or do I open with this? I kind of want to open with that. And let the quick sew stick up above. It's like you're sewing for your trip. Okay, so I've got beige, I've got white. That doesn't need to necessarily, well, be that. And now, where is she starting out from? She is starting out from, it's Utah on that side. No offense, Utah, but I'm not feeling excited about you. Although we have Virginia and West Virginia, but that doesn't show to the front. Well, we'll see. This one again will have to be trimmed to fit. I think everything else is. Let's see, let's throw some color. It's not too non-colorful, but I want some color next. That's a writing page. This, not so much a writing page. We need some writing pages in here, so let's go for some blank things. I'm not super excited about the colors of these pages, but they are what I have. Let's see. Let's do a blue. I don't know why I'm being so fussy. It's usually best to just kind of cram them together, quick and dirty, in the order you think you want them. I don't want to go white right after that. Oh, I know. I want a graphic-y one right after that. And then that, and some music, and a blank, well, that's envelope, that's not that. Not sure where I'm going about that. This one, this one. Let's see, this, and this. I think I'm going to put this one here because I think these two go in here. I think these two are going here. That, and then that. Oh, we still have these over here. Okay. That. You know, I think I want these at the center spread because when I trim the edges, I like the idea of this being what's behind. On the other, I had something more like this, but that's okay. This, I need to do a quick cut. Some of that. Maybe that pockety bit. You know, I like the idea of this, but the rest of this, not so much. So I think I will save this as something to cut and put on a page later. Put that up there with that. This, and then this, and then this in the middle. That in there. Don't like it so much against that. That and there against that. I'm not sure I love this in there, honestly. Okay, backing off from what I said because I'm not super psyched about that. I am probably overthinking. You know what? I like it against the blue, so I think it's there. Put the blue. Bum. There, down to, whoop, where'd you go? There, there, and there. Okie dokie. Where am I putting this in? Put that in there. All right. leaf through and decide if I kind of like the feel of that. There, bit of this, map, back to some patterny stuff, white page, there we go, off on adventures, page, white page, let's have some music, into a solid color, some book page, pattern page, off to pink. It's an interesting combination of colors in here. It's not something I would necessarily do in other journals, but I'm fine with it here. There. Okay, I like that. I did end up leaving this out. We have at least one bottom pocket page, and you can always add pockets after the fact, so I'm okay with leaving that out. This envelope might actually be too, is it too deep for this? No, it's not. Okay. Let's see. Because I'm not going to want to sew anything onto the page that I put this on. Is it there? And it covers the music, and then you open it and you see the music. You know, you have to not be too precious, and that's hard for me. The back half. That's kind of lightweight paper. I kind of want to stick the envelope onto something that's got some body to it. Stick it this way, so you see the music, and then you turn the page in there. Okay, now this envelope has this pull and stick. I'm going to back that up, and I'm actually, I don't know why, I guess just because I'm sticking this sticky onto an unknown surface, I'm going to use Art Glitter Glue. I'm going to regret gluing it out. This is a very thin glue. It's called Art Glitter Glue. It's not glitter glue. It's the kind of professional, commercial, industrial kind of glue that is used for gluing glitter, like gluing glitter to cards. Like when you get cards in the store that have glitter glued on. If it's glued on well, this is probably the glue they used. It dries really quickly, like it's drying as I'm spreading it, but it's really thin. But for some reason, with going over that other sticky, that's so old, who knows how long it would have held. It just seemed like the thing to use. In the past, I've always just used my eyelets tacky, and that probably would have worked just fine. Just kind of a little intuition hit. We'll never know if it was valid or not. A little bit of glue there. Okay. So there, we'll have a pocket there. So that edge will not get any trim on it. Got that. Okay, now, closing the book. What's sticking out, and do I mind? On these books, I really was keeping it kind of more inside the lines, or inside the cover in this case. So I'm going to pop this out, and hopefully I've folded it well. I'm just going to go ahead and cut right along the outline of the map, and I think that's going to make it stick in. Doesn't look as perfect as it could on the other side, so fine, I'll open it up. So I hope you're making along with me. And you're getting your pages all set up and ready to bind in. We aren't quite there yet. You would think for such a simple project, it's taking a ridiculously long amount of time. I have realized that I am not likely to put these up for sale when done. I may. But certainly I'm not going to make any money at it as far as like an hourly reasonable wage. Okay, so that just fits in. Making takes as long as it takes. And some people can do all these things really fast. I just tend not to. Let's see, do I want this to be a fold in? I've already got a fold up pocket. So I think in this case, I just want to trim this off. And rather than putting a mark and cutting and all of that, I'm going to lay my ruler along the edge. That enables me to kind of eyeball that better. And just do a rip. That'll give me a little bit of a deckled edge. And that should be fine. A lot of these edges are going to end up with trims on them anyway, so okay, that works. It doesn't matter if they're getting trims on them, you mostly don't see the edges. That's what I was starting to say there. So I'm going to put her aside with these other bits over here that may get bound in later or added in later. Although I do want to see if I want to do another one of these pages. I think I do somewhere inside, like right here. And in this case, I don't think I'll do the folded bit. I think I'll go ahead and just pull that off. And I'll hang on to that piece because I can see that being like a tuck thing that you can journal on. Is there anything else? That was also this one. I think this I may make into cards or make into a piece that just tucks. And I think I won't worry about binding it. It doesn't in itself, it coordinates with this, but it doesn't have enough to do with the travel idea to make it be like part of the basic book. The cooling coffee. Okay, so now, even if we aren't going to get all the way to stitching this morning, because traffic is definitely picking up, and anytime now there's going to be restaurant supply trucks parking in the center of the street right out in front. That's what they do here on this extra wide street. They just park the supply trucks in the middle of the street and unload. So, and there goes my shoveling guy, salting my sidewalk. Don't know if you can hear that. All right, so I've picked some different trims, and when you're picking out trims, if you are a sewist and you cut selvage edges off of things, selvage edges can make interesting junk journal bits. So you may want to hold on to those. Whether I'll use these in this particular book or not, I don't know. But they can be a bit graphic, add a little interest of a different variety. If they are the type of selvage edges that have sort of a fringy edge, very cool. I use those a lot. Do I have a journal here that has that? No, I don't have one handy. A lot of times when I'm binding the edges, like I have this one, a lot of times I'll use some of that selvage edge with the shagginess as a trim on those. Excuse me. I live in a very dry climate, and I didn't super hydrate this morning when I got up. So I'm not dying, I'm not ill, I'm just dehydrated. Now this ribbon is probably too wide to use as an edge, but I might use it somewhere in here. This is a piece I picked up at a flea market in France many years ago. Haven't used it for anything, but even though it doesn't really make any sense with the colors there, sometimes the random not matching color is exactly what you want. I don't see it being a thing here, so I'll leave it in the pile, but I probably won't use that. I have some velvet ribbons. I have some of this turquoise, that might be good. The other color that came up was purple, and that was basically the only place in the graphics that has purple is on the secondary pattern and this. So I want to keep in mind where that might end up, and think about adding some purple there. What else have I got? I've got some satin ribbon, tiger stripe stuff, which, you know, modern woman on the go, she needs some animal print. This is maybe the wrong kind of blue and a little too ditzy cute. Might look great in the 70s journal. This, again, only place it makes sense is in relation to that. Some yellow printed ribbon. I am a ribbon hound. This is a piece of elastic cord, and that may end up being a closure for this journal. So set that aside. These, they just happen to live in the purple ribbon jar, and I can see using a few of them in this project later, so I pulled those out. My sister and I, when we send packages, we always tie them up with usable ribbon instead of regular gift wrap ribbon. So there's this piece, which could do, but I'm not sure about it. Some other snippets, some lace bits, different kinds of laces. I'm not a huge fan of the thin polyester lace, but since this is a lingerie pattern, that really thin lace is kind of more in keeping, whereas this, which for some reason I want to say it's Clooney lace, but I'm not sure that's the right name for it. This heavier crocheted lace, even though it's pretty delicate, I don't know if I'll end up using. I think I will. But I wouldn't really use it on lingerie probably, but maybe I don't know. I think it's the era of the lingerie, whereas this makes me think more old-fashioned-y rather than mid-century. So that might be why that's kind of feeling odd. But in the mid-century vein, here's some flower chain lace. This doesn't immediately seem to go, but somewhere further in it may work with some of the more yellow pages, so that's why that's there. Occasionally you come across like miniaturized trims, like this pink. Oh, I've just lost the name of it. It's like webbing, but not webbing. That's not the right word for it. Tape. It's called something tape. Anyway, there's that. So yeah, I've got lots of snippets, and again, another piece that doesn't necessarily coordinate specifically with any of the colors, but it jumped out. So I'll put it over there with the French ribbon. It may end up going in here. So what I'm going to do is go through and decide what edges maybe I want lace on. I kind of like the idea of that there, except that it blends in so much with the next thing. And this is really a matter of trial and error. It's not like you can look at what I'm doing and go, okay, I know exactly what I'll want to do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut a snippet of that. And I cut them all just a little bit long if you only have a very small amount of trims and you want to be a little more precious, that's fine. I just cut a little extra long and trim later, so I'm going to leave that there. This I'm not going to put an edge on. This, not so much on the front, but I kind of like the idea when it flips open. There is that's bare. Coming into that next page. Let's see. No. No. It would have to be long. I don't know if it deserves velvet ribbon. Ooh. It's kind of nice, isn't it? But I want it on the other side. I like the graphic of this side being left alone. I kind of like that. Yes, and I'm a bit precious about my velvet ribbon. See, even I. Do I have any sewing scissors still? Over here, I do. My painty ones. I know, I have sewing scissors with paint. Once in a while, I do projects that involve painting fabric onto walls. These are the scissors I use for that. Mostly lace, painting lace onto walls. And you have to be able to trim it as you go. This one. I think this one can have this. That's been tied before, so it's got a little wrinkly spot that I'm going to have to either press out or simply cut in the middle. I'm going to do that. I can press that out when I use it for some other project. Please tell me where I hid my scissors from myself. Okay, I can press that out and use it for some other project at some other point. Cut. Now you don't have to just stitch things in flat. As you're planning this out, keep in mind that you could stitch things in. I'm going to jump ahead just to get to a page that's got some color, some contrast, so you can see what I'm talking about. Let's get over here to this bright blue, where I'll get some good contrast. I could stitch this in. I'm going to stitch along the edge. I could stitch this in, and as I go, pleat it up. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to want my piece to be twice as long. And in fact, I'll just leave this piece in here, even with that wonky little bit where it was once tied. I can finger press it. That's good enough, especially where it's going to be. So I'll plan on doing that here and show you how you can pleat it as you go. So leave it at least twice as long. And this lace does have a bit of discoloration from who knows what, sketchy. I'm going to leave that in there. It's probably not sketchy, it's probably just where it sat on its card and rusted away slowly from whatever it was pressed up against. You find that quite often. Let's see, that snippet's very short, so that would be more like a tab or something. We've got trim. Even though this is a blank page, let's skip the trim there, just because we don't need every single page to have something. Now we're coming up to this music page, and we've got this black and white. I want to do some of this, and this is where the trims may stick out beyond the edge. That usually looks pretty good. Yeah, I think I want to put it on the music page. Do that. And then I wouldn't normally do black and white, but what would that look like? Ooh, I like that. Putting this here and then having that there. I like the graphic look of that. And I think I'll just cut it a flower beyond. I may leave those hanging over the edge, or I may cut them off later. Okay, so I want that there. And there. And then we'll skip that page, although that could be fun to put. We've got graphics right up to the edge. If I do anything, put it behind. But I want something. This might be where this heavier lace comes in. It's kind of sweet from this side, but does it have any interest against a white page? When you turn the page over here, it doesn't jump out and grab you, but it's kind of nice. We'll leave it for now. Not everything has to jump out and grab a person. Okay, so there's that. Skip a page or two. Let's see, we're not going to put any on that, so we want some here. We've already got this in here. Don't really need to compete with it on the outside edge. Skip a couple. Okay, let's see. What can we put on this pink one? Do we want to go pink on pink? This is kind of a different. Let's do. I haven't decided where that little purple gal is going to go. I do that. I think it needs a layer. I think it needs to be not just that. Ah! The end is never where you need it. What if I did that and that? Not excited. What else have I got? Not excited about that either. Is this where? Stick some yellow and blue in there. Does that make any sense with whatever else is going on as you're coming along? Okay, there is some navy coming up to that. I don't know why I think this ribbon needs to go in here, but I do. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick it on this page. Definitely doesn't do the wild woman travel thing, but for some reason it seems to need to be there. This right now I have folded up. What do I want to do? You know what? I'm going to make that into a pocket. I'm going to stitch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this across. Let's go across right here. That aside can be used. And then when I get to this piece, I'll stitch here, and I'll probably stitch around just for looks. And then I may or may not stitch up the inside. It's not so important because it's in the fold that's going to hold the pocket shape. Okay. So there's that. Now do I want a bit of lace on top of the pocket? That's kind of fun. All right, peel off tape. And this is something, I may stitch it in. I may decide to just Fabri-Tac. Would it be better to have this? No, that. Okay, so there's that. Then there's this, which I don't think needs any embellishment. This, we decided we'd do a ruffle edge. And then we're to this, so that's half of the book we've got figured out. I'll need to glue them down, and what I'll do is I'll fussy cut. You know, I've already fussy cut her. I don't need to cut out these background bits. You don't notice them. That's what I thought would probably happen. But I'll fussy cut, I'll come straight up to this foot, and then fussy cut around the edge, and I'll come straight up off the top of her braid and cut that off. So I'll glue that down and do that. And go ahead and pull that out because that's a gluey thing that needs to be done. I'm not planning on sewing any trim onto those pages. Okay, and then coming through the back way. Now we do have this blank spread. It didn't bother me on the other side, but I'm thinking on this side, this might be, even though I don't think the purple gal is going to go here, this might be a place we could bring in some purple, and a place that I could do another one of those kinds of things. You know what I mean. The kind of thing. Oh, on the other spread, it's on blue. Right. Ruffle it on. I don't know. Not feeling it. Ooh, what about keep it graphic? An original or up? Or put it upside down so up is pointing down. Just to be weird. I think I'll do that. I think I will use that in this book. I'll use it right there. Now, when I get over to the machine and I'm actually doing this, and I may glue this one in just so I'm not sewing through the seashells on the other side. Stitching seashells doesn't seem to make much sense. Since I think I might glue it in, how about if I, ooh, I don't have Fabri-Tac handy. I need to get a new bottle out. Okay, so I think I'll glue that one in. Hopefully I'll remember that when I get to the machine. Okay, we're to this. On the other side, we used that scrap of black lace. I did like having something come across. Wouldn't mind something that picks up the blue. So, where is that snippet of... There it is. Not that I don't have a whole roll of this, but I think I'll stick that in there, and I may even, rather than cutting that off, stitch that on, and then fold this around, and when I stitch the sides down, because I'll stitch this on first, and then I'll stitch the sides. And when I stitch the sides down, have that folded around so it's got a tab. Does it need a tab? No, nothing needs anything. Plain white notebooks will do you. But we'll do a tab there. Okay. We don't stitch things on because it needs them. We just do it because it seems fun. Okay, so I've had something there. I've got something there. Might skip that, but do something on this side. Just feels like it needs some lace again. Okay, so that. This paper is just, it's a little thin for stitching things on too. Doesn't feel like it's got enough body to it. That. super excited with that, with the performance of that. Oh well. In here, I am feeling this one here. It is a pretty lace, isn't it? I do try to remember to cut this stuff with, you always hear don't cut paper with your fabric scissors, but if you can help it, don't cut fabric with your paper scissors. Just keep them for what they are, and it may never make a difference, but it may make you happier. I can almost see purple gal. I kind of like her. Oh, that's why I like her with the brown, because her friend on the brown. Her friend's going to get cut off about there and tucked down behind her. I can see that happening there. So I am going to go ahead and put a snippet of this over here. And again, cutting long so I can trim it at the time. Or not, let it hang over. On the back side, all it would look like is some black. Let's see, we've got this and this. Do I want to embellish along here with something? Haven't used this, and it's really quite appropriate to this whole thing. Got a different spot I would want it. Any other place I can think I might want it would be up here. Oh, I like the idea of going up there. Okay. I'll show you when we get there. Don't use that. I'm not feeling that. Just leave it for now. Something else can go on there. Let's see, that'll have stitching. But I don't think it needs any edging. So this just goes nicely with this, and I am going to leave it long in case I want to put a tab up top. This turquoise coordinates with the cover color. I think this along this edge, just because the graphic has the points, suddenly the points seem to, it's like, okay, not only is the color good, but the points are good. And I'll just snip that when I get there. And we could skip a page, pattern paper, thin, and that. I think this page should have some trim before we get to the end. Ooh, backing up. Would this be good on here? It coordinates, but it doesn't really add any interest. Pattern paper, no. You know what I'm gonna do? Because seeing those little grease spots there just bugs me. I want to leave this in, so I'm gonna go ahead and just do a tear. We'll just shorten that piece. And because I've shortened that piece, even though that's not very strong for sewing onto, perhaps I will glue that on there. That kind of makes sense with what's going on there. This will be one I think I'll glue on rather than stitch. Remind me when I get to it, just yell through the camera at me. I'm going to cut that one jot long. Okay, there's that. This one, I think, one last lacy bit. How far back is that other piece of that lace? It's all the way back there. I do have other laces and I should probably jump up and grab them, but I'm gonna keep it simple so we can finish off here. There's that. And this last piece is the back side of that. And I think I'm feeling just a little bit of teal velvet going on there. Not that you see it against it, but then when you turn the page, and let me, I can always wrap it around a little bit. I could have wrapped it all the way around, couldn't I? It's awfully pretty there, but it kind of feels like it needs it there. All right. So there are some laces and trims picked out to be stitched and glued on. And as it's only getting noisier and noisier, I'm going to call that a day. Going in the unedited full length, we've definitely spent enough time at this. So that's where we are. I'll pick it up tomorrow morning with stitching these things on. For today, go make some magic.